This video contains graphic imagery of the Pulse nightclub shooting. Viewer discretion is advised. This video also contains never-before-seen public records released only through individual requests. These show a number of life safety issues at the Pulse nightclub that have gone unchecked, ignored, and even diminished, considered inconsequential by the city and the nightclub owners for years. Ultimately, we call for a criminal investigation into the city of Orlando and the Pulse nightclub owners for allowing Pulse to operate in violation of city codes and with unpermitted renovations that hindered escape and rescue. Then, covering up these facts with spin, lies, and gaslighting, all of which are documented and all of which are infuriating. Rather than accept responsibility for breaking the law, the nightclub owners have instead resorted to calling victims and their advocates liars. The city, too, decided to prepare for possible litigation brought against the city because they too knew about these violations and did nothing to bring Pulse into compliance. They decided to protect themselves instead of protecting the mass shooting victims. Part 1. Exits. Pulse nightclub had 7 exterior doors. One was located in a storage room behind the bar. It was blocked by a beverage refrigerator. A survivor trapped here during the shooting tried to move the refrigerator to escape but could not. Even though he could see the door to the outside behind the refrigerator, it was too heavy for him to move out of the way. One victim, who was shot, died at the hospital after being trapped and bleeding out in this storage room. Doors 2 and 3 led to an enclosed, unpermitted patio bar. The first survivors who went out these doors were forced to jump over a high, unpermitted fence to escape. The only patio gate was latched, and survivors trying to flee could not get it open.
I managed to jump. I jumped up. I ran to that back wall back there. I jumped on a silver table, high silver table, and I hopped the fence.
Walking, next thing you know, I just started hearing like bang, pop, 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 pop. And people were like scattering, running around. I didn't really know where to go. I'm looking for my friend. I kind of curled up in a corner for a second. Then I unfroze myself and then jumped over the back wall that everyone was trying to get out of. I just jumped over and just kept running.
We left once we heard the initial gunshots and hopped over the fence eventually.
So when you made it out, you crawled out to the patio, then what happened?
I got up and then I crouched and I was zigzagging my way after, because there was a whole bunch of people that had gone out and the privacy fence went down, and that's when everybody was just like going. But
That fence was illegal, constructed without permits, and was in violation of city codes. City code enforcement photographed this violation in 2010 before it was painted black, yet never issued a citation. One victim was murdered trying to escape through the unpermitted, illegal outdoor patio bar fenced with an illegal fence. This was front page news, but no one was ever held accountable. Doors 4 and 5 led to another fenced-in, narrow service alley, the width of the building's soffit. To form this makeshift, fully enclosed outdoor hallway, Pulse's unpermitted fence was connected to the roof with wood lattice and plywood. Pulse's unpermitted building plans show the only exit on both the north and west sides of the building was located at the end of this hallway. This too was blocked off, and another drink refrigerator was placed in front of what should have been an open path to safety. With no open exit, victims were momentarily trapped in this narrow space during active gunfire, and when every second counted.
We went to this alleyway which led for only employees, and we had tried, me and this random guy tried blocking the door, because at that point, like I said, the bullets were getting louder and closer. So we blocked this door, and we did hear banging, and I pray it wasn't anyone trying to escape, because I would forever feel guilty. But at that point, there was still about 20 people in front of us crammed in this little alleyway with a big hole in one of the fences and just trying to topple over, just trying to escape, just run. We had first pushed our way through the door, and it was a small alleyway in regards of a lot of people trying to get out, and it was really, really a lot of traffic. So me and this tall gentleman, we just had the idea to close the door shut and push against to make sure if it was coming this way, because the bullets were getting louder, it was getting closer. We just kept the door shut and tried getting everyone as much space and as much time to get out. When I ran out and I dodged through a big hole in a fence, there was banging, there was pushing of the door. That was on my mind. But at that point in time, I just tried doing what I thought would be best at that moment, because it was getting louder and getting closer. And I looked to my left, there was a good 20 people piling on top of each other, trying to exit out a small closet-looking door to the parking lot. And I pray that it was nobody trying to escape. And if they did, if they hid, if they got stuck, and you don't know what to do until that happens. And I just thought I was doing the right thing.
You were worried
I'm not a hero.
about getting trampled, in other words. So many people were coming into this small little corridor.
I didn't care about getting trampled.
Oh.
I wanted everyone to get out. My goal was making sure my best friend and these people had space, because panic and chaos was not allowing everyone to get through there. So by holding that door, it was only about 10 seconds, 15 seconds, it seemed like. I felt like that was enough time, and people made their way through, and then there was a gaping hole in the fence that someone busted through, and people figured out another route.
These survivors were freed only when someone kicked a hole in the fence, which is documented in police reporting. This was also recorded on Pulse's surveillance footage, which has never been released in full by the FBI. This is because the case is still open, even after 7 years. The blocked exit in this alleyway was also documented by Orlando Code Enforcement and Fire Marshal Tammy Hughes. Here, Tammy Hughes sends a text message to Fire Chief Roderick Williams and says, "Code enforcement is here, showed me a picture where the club owner had blocked the exit with a Coke machine. He has pictures." Okay, how many exits was blocked? Maybe 1 or 2. An earlier text message stated, "May I come to you to provide some details of this report so you can brief your leadership team? Because when they asked for our records, TJ will have to answer some tough questions why he did not for NFPA codes and allow for this person to violate them. It is in our report." So despite that the city today says there were no life safety issues at Pulse, on the day of the shooting, the city knew that there were life safety issues at Pulse. This is the Orlando Fire Marshal stating just that. Fire codes are written and followed to ensure life safety. The primary life safety issue in a fire is the same as in a mass shooting, and that is to get out of the building and away from the danger as quickly and safely as possible. The placement of the Coke machine was also documented by police body cam footage that was not released by the city until 2023.
You got me covered. No. Can't find it. It's coming from behind the door. We got a cell phone. I can't tell if it's behind the door. No. Around this side.
On June 1st, 2017, the city released police body cam footage but did not include Officer Tagler's. Instead, the city created fake stories to disseminate to the public regarding the Coke machine. They created a Q&A document that they released shortly after the shooting. The question they posed was, "What about the knocked over Coke machine?" The answer they gave: "We have no indication there were blocked exits at the time of the incident. There is a picture that shows what looks like a Coke machine knocked over near an exterior wall. This picture was taken after the incident, leaving questions to consider like, given the location, it could have been knocked over when OPD breached the wall, at which time victims had already exited the building. The most recent exit check on May 21st, 2016 did not indicate there were blocked exits. If a life safety issue is identified during a check, Orlando Fire Department seeks immediate correction or closes the establishment until corrective action is taken." We know from the facts and the evidence that this was not true. The Coke machine was at least one of the things blocking what should have been an open pathway to safety. We know that it was not knocked over when OPD breached the wall because an internal investigation conducted by the FDLE showed that responding officers had to haul away the Coke machine in order to gain access to the building. Why did the city put forth this fake scenario that they contrived when they had evidence that showed what really happened and where the Coke machine really was? What is the point of this other than to cover up the truth? And the city wasn't the only ones to lie about the Coke machine. When local news agencies reported on the Coke machine, the Poma's lawyer also lied to the public.
Blueprints show the room is walled off and not accessible from the inside. In a statement, a lawyer for Pulse tells us there is a door to the outside that is not used by anyone, whether they be employees or patrons. That door is in a room behind the bar where patrons are not allowed. That door is not an exit door.
Gus Benitez misled the media and falsely claimed that the Coke machine was in front of a door to a storage closet. At the time, the property was closed off to the public. But when the FBI photos were released months later, it was shown that the door and the enclosed storage closet shown on the building plans did not exist. In addition to being narrow, the hallway was also cluttered with trash cans and storage items. When a reporter asked about egress at Pulse following a nightclub task force meeting led by the city after the shooting, David Arnott, the mayor's top security official, said his comment about trash cans and egress had nothing to do with Pulse. Months later, the FBI would release their photos and we would learn that he lied to the media and trash cans did block egress. As of July 24th, 2023, the Coke machine is in the same place it was on the night of the shooting. There was another issue with doors 4 and 5. When Pulse was renovated without permits, the owners constructed narrow hallways around the exits. With the club over capacity, this created another issue with egress as people ran to escape.
The hallway where we were trying to enter to get out, to get freedom, is only the size of where me and you are in the length and width of it. So you can only imagine 95 people trying to get in this small area as the width of me and you. With that going on and trying to enter out of that door, I think that's where me and my friend lost touch at.
Fire Marshal Tammy Hughes was scheduled to do an inspection after the shooting, specifically to document the code violations that were known inside of the club. However, that was called off by the city because the building was vacant. The city had no concern for the 49 lives lost, the 53 who were wounded, and the hundreds of other people who were traumatized from being in this unsafe building while a mass shooting rang out. In 2023, we complained to the city that the code violations still existed while the building was being leased to the OnePULSE Foundation. It was no longer vacant, and it hadn't been vacant for years. Rather than inspecting the building in 2 days, per the city's policy, the city allowed Rosario Poma and OnePULSE to terminate their lease on day 2. Then said they did an inspection and found that the complaint was unfounded. However, the city never went into the building, said no one was there, and the doors were locked. They made no effort to gain access to the building, but they spoke to the owner about next steps. We have not seen any record of a full building inspection of the Pulse nightclub since its opening in 2004. We know the city didn't perform a full building inspection in 2010 after it learned that renovations were done without permits. And we know the city didn't do one after the shooting to document what was wrong with the building. The only comprehensive set of photos of Pulse's interior that we have were taken by the FBI. Of the 7 doors to the exterior at the Pulse nightclub, only 2 led to areas that were not enclosed by the fence. However, there are documented issues with those 2 remaining doors as well. Door 6 was the main entrance to the nightclub. Left unsecured, this is how the shooter entered Pulse with an automatic rifle. Officer Adam Grueller was hired to be security, but he was not at the door. When the gunfire erupted, he took cover in the parking lot, where he witnessed a woman banging on the front door. When he saw her through the plexiglass insert, he thought the door slamming shut and her banging on the door was the cause of the noise.
As I'm looking at the main doors, I see the main doors open. There's a Hispanic female who's banging on the door. The main door is a big steel door with a plexiglass insert. When that door slams shut, it's very loud and it can sound like that of a small caliber gunshot. And she's banging. So at that moment I thought, I'm gonna just yell at this girl because I just called shots fired and it's her banging on the door. But she stopped and the shooting continued. So I knew it was not her.
He did not go to help her. Minutes later, police who arrived on scene walked up to the shut main door while gunfire continued inside.
Brennan, let me know when you have a team.
Can we get this guy out?
Yeah. Hold on.
Injured right here. Can we grab him?
Yeah.
Have him going?
Roger.
7. Hey, listen. Triage Einstein.
Everybody, if you don't get... Triage team, no long guns. No long guns, yeah. No long guns, so you can ram. Come on. From the front. That's where they are. Get back. Hard cover, guys. Hard cover. What do you say? Hard cover. You got it. We got one of them. Hey. See anything? Not yet. I see shadows moving in here. Yeah. Watch out, point out. Trust me, I need to.
There was a red laser that come up. Hey, what's that red laser there? Is that us?
No, I do see a red laser. Watch out.
Dan, do your guys have red lasers?
No, there's a red laser coming up.
Does anybody have a red laser on their gun? SWAT guys do.
No, some regular guys have laser pointers too. So.
I see it pointing back. There shouldn't be one pointing at us.
He's in the back side over there, though. Come here. Is there anyone back there?
That's what I'm asking.
Okay, 2 shooters, guys. 2 shooters.
Listen. We're right on top of this building. I don't either.
Don't move it.
It's friendly. Tell them to come out with their hands up.
Police did not follow active shooter protocol and go inside. They also did not initially enter through this main entrance. Instead, they broke through the nightclub's only ground level window. The seventh and last door was a double door on the south side of the building that emptied out into the parking lot next to another fenced-in area. These double doors were not part of the original floor plans from 2004 that were on file with the city in their document management system called Tidemark. The more recent building plans we have from 2010 were not permitted, and they were not in the city's document management system. They were sitting in the inbox of Timothy Johnson, who worked in the permitting division, and they had been sitting in there for years. 2 survivors said they did not go out this exit because it was obstructed by furniture, including a large round stripper stage placed next to it. Instead, they ran into the west bathrooms where they remained trapped for 3 hours, bleeding from gunshot wounds and nearly dying. Victims able to exit out these doors were still killed.
I again can see the main door, the double doors. That's when I see the girl that was banging on the main door, and I kind of got upset thinking I just called the cavalry for nothing. And everybody's going to be pissed at me because of this girl that's banging on the door. But again, that quickly stopped. It was within seconds. And then the shooting continued. Timetable-wise, I don't know. Again, it feels like forever. But probably after somewhere between the second and fourth volley, I saw 2 victims come out and fall in the area of the double doors. I was still positioned behind the car where I've marked 2. And then I saw the right double door open and the barrel of a long gun come out, and these 2 victims take additional rounds.
One officer stated he observed a body blocking the door while shooting was still happening inside. Another issue is that the windows next to the door depicted on Pulse's 2010 building plans did not exist in real life. They were walled over, making the west side of the nightclub completely windowless. Victims trapped in a West Side dressing room had to be rescued through a small hole in the concrete block wall made for an air conditioning unit. This room was also not to code, as shown by FBI photographs. It was also modified without permits, which we can see when we compare the 2004 building plans with the unpermitted 2010 building plans. Victims trapped in the windowless West Side bathrooms had to be rescued through holes created by explosives in a ramming vehicle. The first hole, by the way, was in the wrong spot because law enforcement did not have access to building plans on the night of the shooting. They had to hand draw the nightclub on a piece of paper that was wet with the officer's sweat. He drew this layout relying on intel from victims who were trapped inside the building during the shooting, as well as from a manager who the cops relied on for information to locate victims. Windows required by city code on the east side were also walled over on the inside and blocked by liquor cabinets on the outside. A photo of Pulse taken in 2006 from the Orange County Property Appraiser site shows what it looked like before the illegal modifications. Notice there's no fence and there's clearly 2 windows. Just like the number of doors shown on the building plans, Pulse was also supposed to have 7 windows. Of those 7 windows, only 1 of them existed at the time of the shooting.
There was nowhere to go. There was no exit. There was no window to break to get out. So I just ran into the bathroom.
According to police, the waterfall window, which was the one window that they had, was not even fully transparent. The victims of this shooting were primarily queer, Black, and Latinx working class people. The bar owners were wealthy, white, and had personal connections to the office of the mayor. The Pomas even had a Wild Side barbecue restaurant inside of City Hall. After the shooting, Rosario Poma was given a spot on the board of the Orange County Sheriff's Foundation after John Mina was elected sheriff. This space was vacated by their lawyer's daughter, Ali Benitez. And Rosario Poma was given this position despite having been a character witness for Jesse Molly, the boss of International Drive, who was imprisoned for tax evasion and investigated for terrorism by the FBI and the Orange County Sheriff. Why was there never a criminal negligence investigation? Why was there never even a building inspection? Throughout the past year, the Pomas have been selling their assets in Central Florida, making millions. Barbara Poma herself took $762,104 in salary. That's over $500,000 from the OnePULSE Foundation, the private nonprofit she started after the shooting. And guess what? The mayor is on the chairman's board of that nonprofit. And the nonprofit's chairman is Earl Crittenden, an eminent domain attorney who is also the city's chief protocol officer appointed by the mayor himself. Earl also works for Gray Robinson, the same law firm chosen to represent the city in Pulse Matters and whose president in the aftermath of the shooting was City Attorney Mayanne Downs. Now those are conflicts of interest that could and probably should get them all disbarred. Not only is the city and the nightclub owners getting away with this and not having any ramifications for creating an unsafe business in Orlando, but they have been touted as heroes, as champions of our community, and they have made money off this massacre. It's time that we undo what has been done, and it's time for justice. This is just a small fraction of the records we have. I didn't even mention the issues with the conditional use permit, the unpermitted second floor, and the other documented lies and efforts to cover this all up.